afternoon, folks, and welcome to Red Castle Supply. I am Andrew, and today we're going to be talking about aeroponic cloners, or as I prefer to consider them, the most effective and fastest plant propagation method there is, in my opinion. First thing you're going to need is a 27-gallon tote. Now this tote is a Commander brand, and it is from Lowe's. Now the only reason I really pick up this specific one is because of the lid. Now the lid has a very clear pattern on the squares, and it makes it much easier to cut the holes. There's 35 of them, so you get clean 35 cells. And because of the grid pattern, you can set up right here and better track the plants you have in. Now you can use other totes. This is a Home Depot one, but there's only 31 cells, and because of the angles, you don't get to do a grid as easily. So, next bit. One of the things I always do with these, now this one has been used, so it's got a little wear and tear on it. I put a little bit of edging right here. Now this is a type of weather stripping tape. I cut it in half with scissors, and then I adhere it down here because how the aeroponics works is it's creating a fine mist of water and nutrient solution typically, and this seal is not a very good seal, so if you don't have it, you're going to have drips out of it constantly, and eventually if you're not, you're going to flood your floor or you're going to run out of solution, and it's not a good situation to be in. So we're going to move this, and we're going to talk about the lid. Now, to build one of these lids, I simply put, for the numbers and letters, I just did a stencil, nothing fancy there, just to keep track. 2-inch hole saw, right in the middle, and you just go right on through, and then I'll deburr it a little bit with a blade because you'll get a lot of plastic residue left over. But what goes in these, you are going to need, at least in this case, 35 net cups, 2-inch net cups. Now, I cut the bottom off, and the reason I do that is because net cup will sit in the cell like this, and as the roots develop and come through, they'll get tangled on this, and you're not going to be able to get them out without damaging the roots. So, better to just do that and leave it open. Now what goes inside the net cup is a neoprene 2-inch collar. You put that in there, put your cutting right in the middle, put it right in there like that. It sets in like that. There you go. Now if you can't tell by now, I don't script, I don't do much editing, and we're going pretty high pace, so try to keep up. Okay. We've talked about the lid, we've talked about the tote. Now, as always, this is merely my method of doing it, so if you think you got a better way, go ahead and run with it and see if it works. I'd be curious to find out. Always open to learn new things. And I never discourage anybody from doing anything that they think might work. Now, the next thing we need to talk about is the manifold. Now, this is the guts of the cloner. Now, this is the manifold from that particular one. And I'm going to take, my pump has the suction cups on the bottom, and it sticks it to every surface and makes it kind of a pain. So they're not necessary for this application, so I just take them off. Now, what we have here is some basic PVC, and I cut it and grid it into this pattern, and I measured it out, and I'll put the measurements in the show notes below. What you do is you drill holes every so often, every couple inches, and you install these little guys. Now these are high pressure sprayers. Now you see they have a little threaded end, and what I did with these is I drilled the hole, and then I use a tap, which you get a simple plastic tap. I might have it here. As you get your tap handle, you just twist it a little bit, and it creates the thread on the PVC. Anybody familiar with tools already knows this. I'm trying to help out those that don't. And you hand tighten only. You shouldn't need any Teflon tape. You just hand tighten them in. And now, some people, when it comes to the pump, will skimp, and I tried to skimp a little bit, and I went with a VivoSun 400 gallon per hour pump, and it just wasn't high enough pressure. It didn't create enough head pressure. It would spit and spurt. It wasn't creating the fine mist, so I had to go back to what the original plan was and get the VivoSun 800 gallon per hour pump. This one's just got enough power that it will create the fine mist that you're looking for. Now, one of the things I do, because there is a hydroponic solution, and occasionally, if you have in your solutions a high calcium and high phosphorus, high calcium and high phosphorus content together, they're antagonistic and they'll precipitate out. Basically, you'll get a calcium-like residue everywhere. So we're going to talk about the hydroponic solution balance later. To prevent that and any other debris, I use these. A 1 gallon, yes it is a 1 gallon paint strainer. And this goes right around, if I can do this here on camera, simply goes wraps right around the pump, and it just creates an extra layer of protection for your pump intake. Now these pumps can take a lot of abuse. I think this pump was $25, and VivoSun is a great brand for this because they're cheap enough you can get two, so you have a backup, and I always have a backup, so in case one of these goes down, you got it. You got it. Now what makes this system work is this little bugger. This is a cycle timer. You get them usually in 2-packs, similar price, about 20 bucks. Now what this does is it's an on-off switch on a timer. It is off for 5 minutes, that's how I've set it up, and on for 1 minute. So every hour I get 10 minutes of runtime intermittently with the sprayer. And what that does is for the bottom of your cuttings that are hanging out the bottom of your cup here, they get sprayed, they get their water, they get their nutrients, and they get their hormone, and it helps encourage the root growth, and the rest of the time they get oxygen, which is why oxygen is absolutely critical to this environment. However, I've tried the next thing on top, I've tried aerators before because some people use aerators in these. Bubble disc and a flexible air line. Now this has holes along here, and I use a Fluville pump. This was about a $40 pump. I don't remember, a Q1 brand is what it says. I don't remember what the specs are on it right now, but 2 ports. Basically it will force air into your hydroponic solution. I don't see how that great a benefit, simply because my aeroponic solution is getting aerated every 5 minutes. Every 5 minutes it gets cycled and sprayed, and it picks up oxygen in there. So I don't find them necessary, but if you want to use them, go for it. The entire setup is just going to cost you a little extra. So I skipped this step, and I have still had positive results. Clean up my mess here. I think that's all we've got to cover on the manifold specifically. So in our next segment, we're going to talk about making the cuttings and making the hydroponic solution.